I'm so glad to be back with you, and also that we have another lineup of fantastic guests. We are going to be chatting with Ashley Bell. He is from the White House, and right now he's actually with President Trump down in, let's see, where are they today? I believe they're in Florida. And so the president, while he's there, is going to be just fantastic. Oh, actually, not Florida, Dallas. He is in Dallas, Texas today with the president. I didn't know that since I'm on the press list, but in preparing for the show today, I was mainly kind of just bebopping around the internet to find out what's happening. What's happening with the Seattle. I guess they're their new own country. They are their own people. We're going to talk about Disney pulling their advertising from Tucker Carlson tonight, which is idiotic because, as we discussed yesterday with David Almasi of National Center for Public Policy Research, we just have to, as if you're a shareholder, you want profits. You're not investing in stock to lose money. If you run a company, you should be there to provide a fantastic product or service and to earn money from that for your shareholders if you're public. If you don't plan on earning money for shareholders, then why in the world would you be running a company? You're basically working against the premise of actually being a CEO or leader of a company. And we're going to discuss other hot topics, news of the day. I'm Stacy Washington. I'm the host of the podcast Stacy on the Right, and I'm also a co-chair at National Center for Public Policy Research's Project 21. We're the advisory council for them. And I'm also on the advisory boards for Black Voices for Trump and Veterans for Trump. And I'm wife and mom of 3 great kids. 2 of them are in college. And that's really where the rubber meets the road, people. The kids being in college, whoa. It's a whole new world, people. It's a whole new world. But I'm not complaining. That's not me complaining. That's me basically acknowledging the realities of my existence with 2 young adults in the house. And then the youngest one, who has always been the baby, she's 16. She'll be 17 next month. So yeah, that's happening. That's what's happening. So I do this. I started doing this about 10 years ago, and it was it was kind of a fluke. It was really one of those things where people say they fell into it. I kind of fell into it. Although as I was falling, I was like, picking up rocks and whatnot to accelerate my fall into what I felt was totally something fun for me to do that has turned into a real passion and something that it feels like something I can't do without. So as the kids have been getting bigger and needing less full-time intervention from mom, I have had the time to do more of this and to really make it into something that is, I hope, impactful and worth the time that it takes, not just for me, but for people who hear the content that I'm putting out and interact with me on the messaging and things that are going on. And I have been, over the past week, I've been very frustrated because instead of engaging in conversation, some liberals have come into my different social media with the intention of, quote unquote, checking me as if they have the right to tell me what to think or believe. And this is a constant problem with leftists towards Black people. They really feel like they have the right to tell us what to think and believe. They have the right to tell us where to live, corral us in inner cities, refuse to give us great school services, keep the tax base low so there's not enough funds to have a properly functioning educational system, have a prison pipeline that comes straight out of middle school, damning millions of American kids who happen to be permanently tanned to a life of poverty, crime, and degradation. And the idea that on top of all of that, ideologically, Black people we can't be different like other ethnic groups. Whites in America are not expected to all be Democrats or Republicans. Whites in America are not all expected to be one religion or have one faith tradition. Whites in America are not expected to live in one area, like they're not always rural. Whites are not always urban. They're not always suburban. No other ethnic group in America has such ideological, it's like a prison that we're in as Black people. And no one else has to deal with that. And so as a Black person, it's almost like a part of my personality where if I think you are telling me that I have to do something, then I am automatically going to be much more inclined to do the opposite of what it is that you feel like I have to do. Now, if you ask me, or if we're in a contractual relationship, that's another thing. But for someone to tell me you have to live in this part of town, in fact, that is how we ended up living in the city when we first moved to St. Louis. We got a realtor who took us up to the Black area of St. Louis, the Black suburb, and it was a Catholic area, which God bless you, Catholics. I love y'all. I am just happen not to be a Catholic. And she said, this is where you guys are going to want to live. And I said, this does not look like a neighborhood that I want to live in. She said, well, it has a parish here. I said, well, we're not actually Catholics. She said, oh, that's okay. You'll love the Catholic schools. They're better for you. I said, better than what? She said, well, the neighborhood schools in this area aren't as good. That's why most people send their kids to Catholic school. I said, okay. She takes us into this house. It was in our price range, but it was a total dump. And then it wasn't like the worst house in the best neighborhood. It was just a dump. And I said, why would you bring us here to this neighborhood? It's not even close to my husband's work. And I don't see any shopping nearby. And she was like, well, this is the area where, young people like yourself usually move into. And she said, I think you're going to be happy here. You're kind of taking it at surface value, but this is a great neighborhood. So I went on, the online website, it was realtor.com. I found some houses in different neighborhoods and I sent them to her and I said, I'd like to see these. Next time we go out, I'd like to see these. And she said, I really think you should stay in the area that we were in the last time we were out. This woman who just happened to be white, but the problem was not that she's white. It's that she thought me and my husband, because we were Black, we could only live in a Black neighborhood. So you know what we did? We fired her. I told her, I said, we won't be needing to look at houses with you anymore, but thank you so much for your time. And we found another realtor and we ended up moving into the city, into a mixed neighborhood. It was mostly Black, but it was a mixed neighborhood with like investment properties in it. And we ended up living in a 6-family apartment building, a historic World's Fair era 1904 building. And most of our neighbors were college students or, young couples. And we lived there for 3 years and then bought a 4-family of our own in South City, which is, again, a mixed neighborhood, not someplace that only Black people live or only white people live. But we chose to live in areas that we felt like this looks like a great place for us, not this is where the Black people live. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know anybody who says, I'm going to go live in this area because this is where the white people live. This is where the Hispanics live. I'm going to go live. No, you go live where you feel like it's the best option for you because your kids or schools or proximity to work, proximity to the airport if you travel a lot, proximity to the beach if you want to live by the beach. I mean, people don't just say, except Black people, we're supposed to say that. And so that is the kind of garbage that Black people face all the time from liberals, right? And I know that if you're a liberal and you're listening to this, you're like, well, I'm not like that. Well, good for you. You must be one of the most virtuous liberals around. But from my experience dealing with liberals, if you're a Democrat and you're Black, that's the expectation. So no shock there. And they treat you that way. They own you. They own your thoughts. They own just look at the way the protesters are tearing up neighborhoods and blocking off roads. There's a viral video that I didn't pull a clip for because it's full of profanity. This Black lady is so frustrated. She's trying to drive home and some white Antifa protesters have blocked her street off so she can't get through. She gets out and screams them down. Go to twitchy.com. You can watch the video for yourself. She basically says, every 4 years, y'all come here and burn stuff up and block off roads. And I need to get home and I need y'all to get out of here. Leave us alone. Do you understand what this woman is talking about? She's talking about being under siege in her own neighborhood by activists and protesters, people who are looters and property destroyers, taking her neighborhood over every 4 years so they can activate the Black vote. And she even says, after you've gotten our vote, you leave and we don't hear from you again until the next 4 years. Now, is that the way that you should be treated? Your vote is valuable. It is your right as a citizen. Should you be treated that way for it? Or should you be able to say, I'm a vote for whoever I want to, and I don't need my neighborhood burned down to help me make the decision? That's what we're facing right now. So yesterday on the program, I said that we would go over the demands of these broken down individuals who have taken over a 6 city block radius in Seattle to include the precinct, the police precinct that houses the 911 call center. Now, they make some pretty interesting statements in here, and I'm just going to read you the highlights because it's actually very detailed. And so this list of demands is penned by Black Lives Matter. They take credit for it over on Medium where they've posted it. And I'm going to read you their blurb. It says, it was transcribed by Irie Kenya and Austin C. Howe. They give special thanks to Magic for starting and facilitating the discussion to create this list, to Amari Salisbury for the idea to break the list into categories, and as well to Kashma Sawant for being the only Seattle official to discuss with the people on Free Capitol Hill the night that it was liberated. So they say, although we have liberated Free Capitol Hill in the name of the people of Seattle, we must not forget that we stand on land already once stolen from the Duwamish people, the first people of Seattle, and whose brother, John T. Williams of the Nuu-chah-nulth tribe up north, was murdered by the Seattle Police Department 10 years ago. Black Lives Matter all day, every day. So they consider their cause to be just and righteous, and whatever I might think about the fact that they've taken over the 911 call center, because they could have taken over any area, they chose to take over an area that directly impacts the safety of people in Seattle. So they claim to care about the safety of those people, but they then take over the 911 call center, which means that people are less safe. Am I right? Yeah, that's what that means. So their first demand states that the Seattle Police Department and attached court system are beyond reform, and they don't want reform, they want abolition of the police department. They want the Seattle Council and mayor to defund and abolish the police department and the criminal justice apparatus, removing 100% of the funding, including existing pensions for the Seattle police. And they demand that the city disallow operations of ICE in the city of Seattle. Now that's your appetizer. The demands go on. And while they make some salient points in here, I mean, you can tell they sat down and they thought about it. They're making demands that cannot possibly be acquiesced to. But they make some assertions in here, like they do have some corruption in their police department. But instead of them saying, as free people, we have the right to vote in people to manage this, we have the right to force our city council by voting in people who will do it, to create a commission and launch investigations and really do something to clean up this police department, bring in a new police chief, whatever needs to be done. They've decided that they're going to basically act out some, if you've ever watched the TV show 100, where the Earth is destroyed and they have to kind of come back to it after years of living in a space station up above the Earth. And when they come down because of the contamination, the adults decide to send the kids down because they think the kids are going to be better able to handle the radiation. And the children go down there, they're young adults. And they basically set up this system of government that it's just mob rule and, murder and mayhem. These people it's every bit of the human condition on display on a television show. And that's what these people, it's like they've watched that. So they take over 6 blocks. They implement a mob rule justice system where you have to pay protection money in order for your business not to be harmed. And then now they're making demands. Really immature. But again, what happens when you don't teach kids civics in public school? They grow up to be these people, rioters, looters, and destroyers of, basically civilization. All right, we're going to go to the break right now. When we get back, I will finish and we're going to just recap the list. I won't read you every single detail, but we'll recap their demands. And then we'll go into this discussion of Disney, which is kind of, again, craziness on steroids. So Stacy Washington in for Tony Katz. We'll be right back with more.
Hey, honey, take your blood pressure medication.
Thanks, dear.
Daddy,
Yeah, Mikey.
are you going to the hospital again for a heart attack?
No, son. Bad medication from a fake online pharmacy sent me to the hospital. My pills didn't have enough of the right medicine for my blood pressure. We learned the hard way that it's important to buy medication only from sites that have either been approved by NABP or that end in .pharmacy, so we know they're safe. Okay?
Okay, Daddy.
Many rogue online pharmacies sell medications with too much, too little, or the wrong medicine, and counterfeiters may even use harmful fillers to make cheap pills. The National Association of Boards of Pharmacy urges everyone to make sure their online pharmacy is legitimate and to watch in coming months for more.
So for this next segment, we're gonna need to break right at 10:30.
Pharmacy, a public service from the National
Okay,
Association
so
of Boards of
when you're
Pharmacy.
ready for that, just
I'm a
hit
firefighter.
A teacher.
the music,
I'm a farmer.
and it's
I'm a
30
barber.
seconds long, right? And I'll get out.
Yep, yeah, I'll start playing at 30 seconds before.
Yeah,
Every
at
day we move in
29:30.
and out of each other's
Yep.
busy
All right, perfect. Thank you.
It's easy to take
You're
for
welcome.
granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life. It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty. Something or someone's behavior that doesn't seem quite right.
These are the moments to take a pause.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
It's not about paranoia.
Or being afraid.
It's about standing up and protecting our communities.
One detail at a time.
Because a lot of little details can become a pattern.
We,
We trust our instincts.
just like you should.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hey, welcome back to Tony Katz Today. This is Stacy Washington. I am Stacy on the Right, stacyontheright.com. You can tweet me at Stacy on the Right. Also on Instagram. I keep a pretty rockin' little Instagram profile going over there. It's interspersed with pictures of my garden and tons of TikTok videos. When I see something, if it makes me laugh or like is shocking in any way that is positive, then I will share TikToks also. I don't really share the kind of negative ones. Occasionally I'll share a political one, but mainly just to kind of intersperse because our lives are not all politics all day, every day. So people want political content. They want to hear the news broken down. They want, obviously, but you also want to live, right? And to me, my day is just not good unless I've laughed and enjoyed it. I just don't want to spend the whole day ranting or watching other people rant about what's wrong with America. Because as bad as things are right now, and I've lived all over. I grew up in Germany. I've been to Russia back when it was the USSR. I was in high school. I've been to England and all of Europe. And I traveled to Saudi Arabia on a tour of duty with the military when I was on active duty in the Air Force. And so I've seen all of the different ways that we can live. And if you missed any travel yourself, if you just watch one episode of The Amazing Race and watch the poverty and degradation and lack of human rights that exist as the norm in other countries, you know that even when America is on fire at our southern border, there are people from all over the world who've flown to South America so they can enter our country illegally because it's such a great place to live that coming here lawfully takes 10 to 15 years. Okay, so we accept over 1 million lawful immigrants into America every year, which is, by the way, according to polls, far higher of a level of immigration than Americans actually want. Our elected officials don't listen to us at all. They just bring in whoever they want. They allow the kind of immigration that they want. They don't listen to their constituents. So we permit that as Americans because it's just who we are. We're just, we're neighborly. We're like, come on in. If you want to be an American, come on in. A lot of people who are coming, first of all, they don't want to be Americans. They want to turn America into a socialist pit like the rest of the world. And we have to stop that. We have to prevent them from doing that. But no matter how many people come here and try to change it, no matter how many people we have here who haven't been properly educated and are living the nincompoop lifestyle at 100,000%, they're like weapons grade nincompoops. That still doesn't change the fact that we have a constitution, that citizens are the highest office in the land, and that we have a representative form of government that permits us to right the ship if we would only look at our little civics, which nowadays you have a phone, you have your entire civics lesson that you could have gotten in high school, but maybe you didn't. It's right there at your fingertips. You go to your Bing search engine and you look up civics and you look up our form of government. And there are even YouTube videos, so you don't even have to read it. You can sit there while you're doing whatever else it is that you're doing, cleaning or whatever, cooking, and you can listen to these amazing lessons. It's not just Hillsdale. PragerU has 5-minute videos. Every organization under the sun has some place on their website where they talk about the Constitution and they teach you what our rights are. Once that has been had, and if you're a parent, these are the kind of things that, you know, your kid wants extra time on the computer or extra time to do whatever. You tell them, okay, we're going to do these 3 quick videos, or we're going to do one of these 5-minute videos. Every 5-minute constitutional video that you watch on PragerU or Hillsdale gets you an extra 30 minutes of time on your computer. I mean, negotiate with these little suckers. These kids are smart. They know when there's something on the table to be had. Don't just give in and get nothing out of it. And of course, everybody needs downtime. Everybody needs an opportunity to enjoy themselves, kids included. But the summer is when you pour in that stuff that the school district missed. And if you were, you know, alive during the last 4 months of our lives, or we were quarantined and we were at home and all of America's children were at home with their parents for the first time in my adult life, in my life, where every kid was at home, the college kids, all the way down to the little teeny tiny ones. The parents were home, and it may have been a little bit of pandemonium, but it was also an opportunity to pour into those kids and fill in the gaps from what public schools and a lot of private schools are missing out on. I mean, admittedly, if your kid's in private school, they're getting civics. But if they're in public school, they're not. The leftists have taken out the good stuff because they don't want kids growing up like this. And by like this, I mean with a brain that's sharp, that it instantly recognizes BS and won't put up with it. They don't want that. So I keep talking about this list, guys. It's such crap. Okay, so they want the dismantlement of the police department, the banning of armed force, no guns, no batons, no riot shields, an end to the school to prison pipeline. They get applause for that, but how do they think they're going to do it? The abolition of youth jails, get kids out of prison, get cops out of schools. What about the school shootings? The demand that the city, not the city government, not the state government, but the federal government launch a full-scale investigation, the removal of local control. They're idiots. They demand reparations for the victims of police brutality. I mean, qualified immunity is something that is under scrutiny right now. I am not going to, jump on the bandwagon and say that we should keep it, but I also don't think completely eliminating it should be the standard. It's a conversation. We need to investigate the options before we just knee-jerk say we're going to completely get rid of it. They also demand the retrial of all people of color currently serving a prison sentence for a violent crime by a jury of peers in their own community. So they want to abolish all of the other trials that have already taken place and replace them with these show trials. I mean, and again, this is what happens when you raise kids where everybody gets a trophy and nobody gets any civics lessons. Come on. All right, we'll be back with more here on Tony Katz Today. I'm Stacy Washington in for Tony Katz.
Hi, I'm Sherry Shepard. You probably know me best as a co-host on The View. More importantly, I'm a mom. I talk to a lot of moms, and I'll tell you what, we all want the best for our babies. But each year, more than 500,000 babies are born prematurely, and this can lead to serious health problems. The good news is that now if you're pregnant or a new mom, you can get easy access to information to keep your baby healthy. It's through a free service called Text for Baby. Pregnant women and new moms get timely, expert health tips sent directly to their cell phones. The tips will help you care for your new child in each important phase of early development. Get Text for Baby. Free messages on your cell phone to help you through your pregnancy and your baby's first year. Just text BABY, B-A-B-Y, to 511411. That's BABY, B-A-B-Y, to 511411 for the health of your baby.
When my landlord said rent could be cheaper if we were friends with benefits, you know? I'd heard of sexual harassment in the workplace, but at home?
That is housing discrimination based on sex.
I'm legally blind. A landlord recently said that he didn't think I'd be able to take care of an apartment on my own and refused to rent to me.
That is also housing discrimination based on disability.
A real estate agent said that we'd be more comfortable living in a different neighborhood with people like us. Luckily, we know our rights. It's illegal to steer prospective homeowners away from or to certain neighborhoods based on race or national origin.
If you think you've been discriminated against because of your sex, disability, national origin, race, color, religion, or familial status, call the HUD hotline, 1-800-669-9777, or go to hud.gov/fair housing. Fair housing is your right. Use it. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
50 years ago, Brown versus Board of Education outlawed segregated schools, promising the American dream to everyone. The dream of Oliver Brown was quality education for all children. But in many schools, children are being left behind. The responsibility of educating Indiana students rests on us all, from educators and administrators to parents and community leaders. Brown's dream of a quality education is the birthright of every Hoosier and a civil right guaranteed to us by the state of Indiana. If you feel your civil rights or those of your child have been neglected, or that your child has been purposely denied access to the education resources, you have options. Call the Indiana Civil Rights Commission at 1-866-FAIR-FOR-YOU. That's 1-866-332-4748. Or visit our website at in.gov/ICRC. This message is brought to you by the State of Indiana Civil Rights Commission.
Hi, I'm Drew Brees, NFL quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, here with Bugs Bunny to remind you to get moving every day.
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you fuel your body and your mind.
So what do you like to throw around the football like Drew?
Skateboard.
Play frisbee in the park.
Ride a bike.
Kick the soccer ball around.
Or dance in your room.
Just move it your way.
Because nothing makes you feel better than moving every day.
And that makes you part of a winning team.
So be a player.
You'll have more energy to do the things you like to do.
Move it your way and be a player.
Get up and play an hour a day, Doc. Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov.
Head online to get tips on great ways to get moving every day.
That's right, at letsmove.gov. Let's hear that one more time, Doc. That's www.letsmove.gov. A message from the Ad Council and HHS.
Mic's up.
Hey everybody, the mic is hot because I'm keeping it warm for Tony Katz. I'm Stacy Washington, and I am so excited to be with you today. I've just been looking through, and I'm like, oh, what all is, like, what's up for the day? What is up? And what's up is that the president is in Texas, and next week he is going to be in, and I'm loving this, he's going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it just happens to be Juneteenth, which is the celebration of the emancipation of the slaves. And also, there's some other things that have happened to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a historic city. And so he's going to be having his first rally since the COVID-19, schmagagony, which is not really a word, but it's a word that we use around here. And so he's going to be talking about that and speaking to America in the way that he is most comfortable, which is off the cuff, just communicating, just sharing his heart and his ideas and his plans for a second term of the Trump administration. And so I'm wanting to do is hear it. I'm wanting to hear it. I'm wanting to see him there and just enjoy everything that's going on. So we are going to have Ashley Bell with us shortly. I'm just checking in. Just checking in to see if this is exactly the right time. My issue is I'm on Central Time. So we were just recently in Indiana, by the way. Well, it was just before the quarantine started, and we went up to Indiana to visit Purdue University for one of the kids. And oh my goodness. So first of all, Purdue is like a city unto itself, the campus. It's so big. But it was nothing like I expected. I looked at the pictures online. I even watched a couple of videos. But I was expecting it to be this big, impersonal place that was like I could never see our daughter living there. And instead, I liked it. I liked the campus. I liked we didn't see much of the surrounding area. We just saw a little bit of it. But it was great. And we did stop at a coffee shop on the way out. And the people were just... like, people have so many kind things to say about Hoosiers, and it's not like I haven't been to Indiana before. I have. I went to a conference there a few years back, and I found the same thing. Hoosiers are pretty awesome. Like, it's just a whole, it's Midwest, but it's different than here in St. Louis. And we have great people here in St. Louis. But wow, I was blown away by just the whole thing. It was great. And I don't know where she's going to end up going. But we definitely did like Purdue. And there are other really great universities in Indiana as well, besides Purdue. So we may be back in that neck of the woods visiting again. So right now, I want to finish just highlighting their demands. They demand that and this is if you're just tuning in, I've been going over the demands of Black Lives Matter and Antifa, the people who are in control of a 6-block radius surrounding the police precinct in the city of Seattle. So they demand that the city of Seattle and state government release any prisoner currently serving time for just resisting arrest if there were no other charges. They want to release every prisoner currently serving time for marijuana-related offenses and expungement of that conviction. Prisoners currently serving time, they want the prisoners to have the full and unrestricted right to vote, even though they're in prison. And they want to pass legislation specifically breaking from federal law, so superseding federal law that basically would allow people to vote, which that will not work. That's not constitutional. But anyway, they demand an end to prosecutorial immunity for police officers and an abolition of imprisonment, but generally speaking, especially the abolition of both youth prisons and privately owned for-profit prisons. Now, where do you send the murderers and the rapists and the child traffickers? If you don't have prisons, where do they go? I mean, help me to help you, help me understand you're crazy. What are they talking about? So there's no prisons. Where do the criminals go? They also demand autonomy to create localized anti-crime systems, justice for people who've been sexually harassed or abused by the police department and prison guards in the state of Washington. And every police officer in between now and the time of the abolition, they want the police officers to turn on their body cameras, and that the body camera video of all Seattle police being a matter of easily accessible public record. Now, that's not something I disagree with. I think that the police should wear body cams, and I do think that having the body cam video available would increase accountability. And I'm a police supporter. So, you know, if you're just tuning in and you're listening and you're thinking, who is this chick? It's Stacy Washington filling in for Tony Katz. And I believe that body cams are great and that police officers should wear them and they should be turned on. That's it. I mean, it doesn't make me a member of Black Lives Matter, though. Y'all know I'm not into that. They then go on to demand de-gentrification of Seattle, rent control, restoration of city funds for arts and culture, free college for every person in the state of Washington, no more evictions, decentralized election process, that they demand that the people of Seattle actively seek out and proudly support Black-owned businesses. They demand that hospitals and care facilities employ Black doctors and nurses specifically to help care for Black patients. Now, here's where that's garbage. I have had Black doctors and Black dentists, and I've had white doctors and white dentists. And at no point did I say, well, I would prefer someone Black when I was in the hospital. I've had surgery before. That is irrelevant to me. What is relevant to me is that when I meet with a doctor and we look each other in the eye and we talk about the treatment course, that I'm comfortable with that doctor's expertise and that we have an understanding, meaning they've explained to me what they plan to do, why they plan to do it, and why they're not doing whatever the alternative is. It has zero to do with whether or not they're permanently tanned. That is garbage. And that's also segregation. The thing that the Black Panthers and Martin Luther King and even Louis Farrakhan with his old anti-Semitic self, all of them fought against segregation. Now, I think Farrakhan's back into it, but we can still rest on Martin Luther King, who was solid from day one to the end, that we don't want to be segregated off and have only Black doctors for Black patients and et cetera. We don't need that. It's based on skill and qualification and also rapport. Have you ever been to the doctor and thought, I'm not sure if this person is for me and I don't want them to do the surgery, and you go to someone else? That's your gut instinct telling you that that person may be a great doctor or they might not be, but whatever it is, you don't feel comfortable. So please don't listen to this. Don't listen to this, this garbage. So we're going to have Ashley Bell next hour. And it's a very fluid situation with him because he's with the president down in Dallas. I don't know why I said Florida earlier. And so he's going to be joining us in next hour of the program. But for right now, let's wrap up this list. And the reason why it's important for us to kind of go over what they're demanding is at some point, because they took a poll. One of the local news organizations took a poll, and you can see the result. There's a screen capture of the television screen where they took this Twitter poll to ask the people in Seattle if the police should come in or somebody and do something about this, this insurrection. So they did. They took the poll, and what they found was that 68% said yes. Do you think the city should move now to retake its East Precinct Police Building? KOMO News Twitter poll. And it's 68% of the people said yes. 32% of the people in Seattle who voted said no. Let me run that by you again. 32%. So fully a third of the people think that this insurrection that's going on should be allowed to continue. Again, this is what happens when you take God out of schools, you take God out of public life. The actual thought processes that are going on in people's minds, they don't work right. People literally lose the ability to think clearly. And then what do you have? You have this nonsense. You have this right here, okay? So let's go on. They demand the funding that would previously go to the Seattle Police Department that would be redirected to socialized health and medicine, free public housing, public education, naturalization services for immigrants who are living here undocumented. We demand that they be called undocumented because no person is illegal. And then general community development of parks. So they want a socialist system where everyone has the same stuff and it all comes from the government, because these are lazy, non-thinking people who are unable or unwilling to earn and learn and take care of themselves. And because these useless, shiftless people want you to take care of them, they want your tax dollars, your hard work, your hard-earned labor through the form of taxation to trickle on down their way so they don't have to make it for themselves. You have them basically holding the precinct hostage and the 6 surrounding city blocks. So they also demand the de-gentrification of Seattle. I think I shared that one. And then the last thing that they address is that the history of Black and Native Americans be given a significantly greater focus in the Washington state education curriculum, thorough anti-bias training become a legal requirement for all jobs in the education system and medical profession and mass media, a demand that the city of Seattle and state of Washington remove any and all monuments dedicated to historical figures of the Confederacy whose treasonous attempts to build an America with slavery as a permanent fixture was an affront to the human race. So let's talk about this idea that we're in a country where you can't have a statue that is to someone who stood for something that you don't believe in. The very existence of those statues, when you see a statue of someone and you say, who was this person? And you're standing in front of the statue. This is the difference between now and 50, 60 years ago. You would see a statue, you'd read the placard underneath and think, I want to know more about that person. Then you had to travel to the library, go inside, locate the encyclopedia or section of books about that person's life, read those books, and then you would know, right? Nowadays, this is the folly of tearing the statues down. You go to this statue. Let's say you're outside, like here in St. Louis, we have something called Forest Park. It's a top 10 park in the entire country. It's like the Central Park of St. Louis. It's huge. It's beautiful. There's an outdoor theater there called the Muni. There are a bunch of museums there. One museum that used to be called the Thomas Jefferson Museum that has been renamed because of this very same furor, because Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. Never mind that he also, because the slaves that he owned were actually his wife's property. When he married her, they became his property. Never mind that he eventually freed the slaves that he owned at the end of his life. Never mind that he is one of the founding fathers of this country. Never mind the fact that for those of us who are descended from slaves, on my father's side, I'm descended from slaves. On my mother's side, I'm descended from free blacks who immigrated into this country from France. I'm here because slavery was a thing, right? If I wasn't imported here as ancestrally, my ancestor was imported here illegally against his will as a slave. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be an American. So am I saying I'm happy about slavery? No. But are we going to deny that it exists? How are we going to account for all the Black Americans? Also, how do we not recognize that even though slavery was the impetus for it, we are a unique people group? Americans, we are an actual people group. Our DNA is actually been commingled over the generations so that when Black people travel to Africa and say, I'm back in the motherland, the Africans who greet you there when you get off the plane always say, it doesn't matter if you go to Ghana, Kenya, wherever you go on the continent of Africa, whichever country you land in, the minute you get off the plane with your little permanently tanned Black self and start talking about being back in the motherland, they look you right in the face and they just look over the four corners of your face and your eyes and your nose and your mouth and they say, I don't recognize your tribe, because they recognize each other by the shape of the face, and that's how they determine what tribe you belong to. So if you don't have a face shape that they recognize, you are not from Ghana, Nairobi, South Africa, Kenya, you name it. You're not from there. You have no tribe there. And that's the thing with us. We Americans who are Black, we are a part of America. Not only is this our homeland, we are a unique people group. We are more closely related to the white people that are running around this joint, if they've been here for generations as we have since, Civil War, since pre-Civil War, then I'm more closely related to you than I am to any African. I mean, don't argue with me, argue with the scientists, argue and understand that I'm making that statement not out of defiance, but out of acknowledgement of the fact that that's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful for us as Americans to acknowledge the reality of our familial bonds. We are family. So now that we've, gotten that out of the way, why are we constantly focusing on slavery? Why are we constantly focusing on African American this and African American that? Why? Because back in the 80s when the Cosby Show was a thing, Al Sharpton said we should be called African Americans. And why does Al Sharpton get to decide? I'm Black. I'm going to call myself Black and that's going to be the end of it. Or permanently tan, which I think has actually got a cute ring to it because, people like to get tan in the summertime. And I actually have gotten quite a bit of a quote unquote tan from walking outside trying to get my vitamin D up so I don't catch the COVID-19. Okay. So let's acknowledge that. I feel like whenever you take a fact like that we are a unique people group and that Blacks and whites in America, that we are actually a people group. We are part of each other. You're not an Irish American. You're an American. I'm not a Black American or an African American. I'm an American. That is a people group. First of all, it's the most unique people group on the face of this planet because it is comprised of people of every skin tone. But also, more important than that, it links us together and it makes us strong. And it also makes us one of the most important groups in that others want to be in this group more than any other group. This is the most hotly desired country for immigration on the face of the planet. It's not Russia, which is a beautiful country, by the way. I've been there. It's not China. Never been there, but I've seen the movies. It's lovely too. I mean, obviously it's communist, and that's why people don't want to go there. They don't want to admit it, but they don't want to go there because it's communist. And so many others, like Germany. It's a beautiful country. I grew up there. Not a place where everyone's trying to get into. They're trying to get in here. It's not Mexico. Mexico has some amazing beach resorts and places. There are a lot of Americans who live in Mexico as expats. They're still American citizens, but they live down there because they prefer the weather and the smaller, it's like, little areas of Mexico where Americans kind of go in and set up shop and live there, and they love it. But there's not hundreds of thousands of Americans or even millions who want to live in Mexico or Venezuela, God forbid, or any of the South American countries. Even Canada, as wonderful as Canadians are, and as beautiful as Vancouver and Ontario, they have lovely cities there. They're not the number one destination. They're not the number one desired location for immigration. So when we acknowledge facts and move on from there, from a position of factual information and not our emotions, we not only operate fully in our own power, but we're able to make and affect such fantastic change that benefits everyone involved. And that's the basis by which we have to launch off into these conversations, from facts, not from emotions or recriminations or thinking everybody's a racist. So we're going to go to the break because I believe I need another break in this hour. So we're going to go to the break. And when we get back, we're going to cover some news of the day. One of the questions is, should the NFL be allowed to play the national anthem since they've rescinded their stance on honoring the flag? I want to talk about that. And I think it's going to be a great conversation for us to close out this hour with. So stay tuned for more Tony Katz Today. I'm Stacy Washington in for Tony.
So this is going to be a very short segment.
Yeah, because
this last one, because we have to be out by 55:20, 55:50.
He was already out playing.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll basically just tease next hour.
Okay, sounds good.
European Pro Golf Tours? 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the Open Championship once and the US Open Championship twice. 1 in 780 million.
Do you still want me to play the outro music?
Professional golfer having a child diagnosed with autism?
How long will I have?
1 in 110. Ernie Els encouraged.
I think you only have maybe about 30 seconds. Actually, probably less than that.
Okay, yeah. So when I come back, I'll start talking. You can start the music at the appropriate time, and I'll get out.
It's time to listen.
Okay, sounds good.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following commercial is sponsored by feedthepig.org, an organization devoted to helping you save money. We will not entice you with messages like
lowest prices in town, dealer approved, certified pre-owned,
no obligation consultation,
nor will we brag about our
huge selection, enormous variety,
one-stop shopping,
everything under one roof,
or promise
prices reduced up to 75%.
A sale like this can't go on forever. Factory liquidation,
financing options available.
We will offer no contingencies left.
See store for details.
Prices and participation may vary.
Hey, sorry, my math was wrong. We're actually not going to have enough time for the segment.
Perfect smile, porcelain veneers.
Freedom from those painful, embarrassing bunions.
So what are we doing?
So it looks like it will just go straight into the bottom of the hour break.
Find the benefits of saving for every stage of life. Brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
How do you wake
You mean
up
the 45
African-American
or the top of the hour? Because it's 55.
Yeah, 55:50. So, yeah, it's just gonna go straight into the end of the hour break.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Would have been much more supportive with her.
Once I reached out to my sister, it got a little better. Once I told my mother, it got a little better. The more I talked about it, I felt it coming off.
The healing is in me, and the healing in a journey can also be extended to others.
It's our community and our mental health.
Giving voice to what you're feeling is part of the healing.
If you're strong enough to just open your mouth, that's all it takes.
And the most revolutionary and healing thing that Black people can do right now is to love one another.
It's time to share ourselves.
Hey parents, finding it hard to communicate with kids in today's world of ever-changing slang?
Hi, son.
Excuse me? Introducing the Communicizer. Just strap non-toxic Communicizer to your mouth and go from boring old man speak,
oh, you know, I'm here if you want to talk,
to 100% off the chain.
Text me whenever, yo.
It's that easy.
Thanks to Communicizer, I'm relevant to my kids again. I mean, a fly, boo.
And now when you buy Communicizer, you get the auto-tune attachment free. Sounds so hip-hop, your kids will want to talk to you for hours.
I used to have to walk 3 miles uphill to school every morning, shorty.
I love you, Dad.
I love you too, son.
Communicizer is not available in stores because it doesn't exist. But that's okay. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I'm 19 years old, and this is how I live united. I've always been kind of a computer geek, and I found a way to use those skills to help the homeless in my community. For people facing hard times, computer skills and a basic resume are so important. It may seem like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference in people's lives. So with United Way, I created a program where I work with the homeless. Together, we go through their whole job history, write a resume, and then save it on their very own USB drive. We provide workbooks and training certificates. I even budgeted for cupcakes so we can celebrate as a class when one of our people gets a job. That's huge. When somebody says, hey man, bad job.
So, will we be replaying this first hour in the third hour?
Dale Pazinski. I help people achieve financial independence.
I don't know.
So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Yeah, Ari
just
told me
filling
that's
in.
what we were going to do, so.
Yeah, I'm
I've got it
filling in
recorded,
until
so
11.
I'll do that.
Right, I'm filling in for 2 hours. I forgot that there was a third hour, but if that's what Ari has planned, then
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, that's what we got planned.
Severe form of
Yeah.
AMD can mean a task like driving can become a major challenge.
I'm Dr. Sada of the Doheny Eye Institute and UCLA. AMD is the most common cause of severe, irreversible vision loss in older adults in the U.S. AMD affects central vision, which lets you see fine details. About 9 million Americans are living with wet AMD or are at risk. If you're over 50, smoke, or have a family history of wet AMD, you could be at increased risk. If a healthcare professional suspects wet AMD, a retina specialist can confirm the diagnosis and work with you on a treatment plan.
Routine eye care, including regular eye exams, can help maintain your vision. Visit www.geteyesmart.org for more information.
More than 100 million wild animals are killed each year, illegally. Poaching is just one of the risks animals face at our hands. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor. I grew up in the beautiful rural countryside of Ohio, where animals roamed freely in the open forests. I have a deep concern to help preserve those open spaces for our wildlife friends, so they can live and thrive like they used to. Destruction of their habitats threaten their very existence. The best way to protect wildlife is to protect the land where they live. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats, and establish permanent sanctuaries. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE. Or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Kevin?
Yep.
How much longer do we have in this break?
Oh, we're about to go in 10 seconds, actually.
Okay.
It's gonna play the intro.
Live from the heartland and the crossroads of America, it's Tony Katz Today.
Yes, it is. And I'm Stacy Washington, filling in for Tony Katz. And I'm excited to let you know that the protesters in Seattle who've taken over the precinct have named themselves #Chaz, C-H-A-Z. And the mayor of Seattle, who is basically like Hillary Clinton's sister, she's the mayor, and she says that it could go on all summer. So she was on CNN talking to Chris Cuomo, and he asked, quote, "How long do you think Seattle in those few blocks looks like this?" And she replied, her name's Jenny Durkan, Democrat, "I don't know. We could have the summer of love." Now, I know everybody thinks President Trump is a dictator, and here's my news flash for you. He is not. But he should immediately dispatch the National Guard to crush this craziness. But that's what Democrats want. Why hasn't he done it? Because he's a strategist and a tactician, and he knows that that would be playing right into their hands. Why did they allow the precinct to be taken over? Why are they allowing this? Because it would never happen in the suburbs, right? It can only happen in a democratically run city. And if they allow it and they let it go on and on and on and on, and the president has to make an action, then they got, the cameras ready, and they can say, well, look at what happens when President Trump is in charge. He sends out the tanks and everything. And look at this armed, they're coming in. They're going to beat down these beautiful young people who are just trying to be loving. Do you remember the Occupy Wall Street camps? The rape, the unwashed human beings camped out in tents, the garbage, the public urination and defecation. That was all liberals too. Occupy Wall Street was libs also. This 6-block area, they'll destroy it. It will have to be completely redone, every part of it. And so instead of allowing these people to take it over and turn it into basically hell on earth, why not just remove these people? Now, admittedly, they have, I think, only 60% capacity. So 40% of their capacity for police presence is missing. They've had a rash of resignations and people leaving and moving out of Seattle, and they have trouble recruiting police officers. So they don't have the police force they should have, but goodness gracious, they should have enough police to take back the city precinct. But when you elect limp-wristed gun grabbers like this lady, Jenny Durkan, you bring them in, and that's how they govern. And I always go back to, if you're bad, there's two issues. If you're bad on life, if you think that unborn babies should be crushed and have their brains sucked out with a vacuum tube, and their bodies should be disposed of by slicing and dicing them and selling the parts off to the highest bidder, whether it's Washington University here in St. Louis for their research department, or the Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. government that was buying baby parts, or any of these other their research facilities that buy human baby body parts from abortions. If you're down with that, then you're probably going to be down with a bunch of anarchists taking over City Hall. You're probably going to be down with gun control too. It all trickles down from there. If you're fine with abortion, you probably have wrong ideas on pretty much everything else. But if you're right on life, if you believe that life is life, if it's growing, it's alive, if you believe in science, that we all produce after our own kind. When you get pregnant, you don't produce a porcelain cup or a lizard. You have a human baby. Lizards produce lizards. Humans produce human babies. If you believe that and you believe in science, then you're not going to believe that, the part of the woman's body that's actually not her own body, it's just inside her, that she can just take that out and crush it to death because of convenience. So then when you go from there, and you get right on that, you get right on everything else. It's the best metric. Every candidate I've ever talked to, when I ask them about the pro-life issue, if they're wrong on it, then if I say, well, are you for limited government? Not really. I think the government is actually the best way to implement blah, blah. I mean, the ideas that come out of their mouth are just unbelievable. So, yeah, she's a pro-abort. She thinks that anarchists should continue to reign supreme in her city. And it's just crazy. Now, they have also had a KTTH radio, Jason Rantz. The hashtag Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or Chaz, he went to visit. He got in, and he says it isn't the peaceful block party that protesters and some media outlets claim. He says they couldn't actually broadcast what they saw there. He said they took over a police precinct with threats to burn it down and now occupy 6 blocks of Seattle. When you go in, they tell you you are now leaving the USA and you can't bring your cameras in. Sounds a lot like immigration control, doesn't it? Yeah, that's their thing. They want to tell you what you can and can't do. So let's pivot over before we go. We're going to have to break on time. The NFL. So I did a couple of Newsmax hits. I've been doing a little bit of media, and one of the subjects that was brought up, we were on a panel with a bunch of us just discussing on Newsmax all of these issues, and the NFL's national anthem recant came up. They've basically changed their policy. Before, they said in honor of basically the customers, the fans, they would not have the players kneeling during the national anthem. They would have to just stand there. You don't have to put your hand over your heart, but you have to stand. And now they're saying they've taken that back because someone made the point that had America listened and done something about police brutality when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, then the cities across the country wouldn't be burning to the ground. Now that is a spurious straw man type of, just take that around in a circle. That's like someone who beats their wife or their child saying, well, if you hadn't done, what you did, if you hadn't looked at me crazy while we were at the restaurant, I wouldn't be beating you, right now. That's garbage. You don't have any excuse to beat anybody. There is no good excuse for burning down American cities and killing people. We're almost at 30 individuals who've died in the mass rioting across the country. And I saw on the internet last night that the guy, it was a protester near a statue that they pulled down. They toppled the statue down on top of the guy who had a major head injury and was in a coma. And I've heard now that this person has died. So they literally killed him to topple a statue. Now, were they intending on killing him? No. But that's why you don't topple statues. This is not North Korea or China. This is America. We have a means by which you can remove statues. You don't have to tear them down. So Don Serber over at donserber.com or donserber.blogspot.com says we should ban playing the national anthem at NFL games because the league's players are too dumb to stand down and honor the flag. He says we should not allow these clowns to disgrace our song, and he thinks that they should fine them $1 million per performance. Second offenses should result in jail time for the team owners. Now, obviously, it's not against the law to kneel during the national anthem. It is not going to, it's just not going to be the thing. So it says by their actions, they will be playing the national anthem only to mock it. So I think one of the things that we should really consider is, and I know the NFL and football are a national pastime and people adore these things. They want to enjoy sports. It's a form of escapism. It's where you say, I've had my week's worth of work. I've done my job. I've put up with my coworkers. I've was at the grocery store with the lady who, wrote out 6 checks to pay for one. All that stuff. You did all that, and you get to the weekend and you just want to mow the grass, get the yard looking good, clean up, start the laundry, and watch some football. And I know so many of our friends are like that. And I'm not a huge football fan, but my husband used to like to watch it. But everything has become so politicized. It's like you just want to find a place your eyes can land where it's not political. And that is okay. Come on, that's fine. So if the NFL is going to make you watch big grown men get down on their knees like subservient serfs during the national anthem, why would you watch? they might as well stop playing it. Just stop playing the national anthem. Stop acting like the NFL and football have anything to do with America, apple pie, and flags. Got nothing to do with it. That's where we are right now. It's kind of unbelievable. All right, when we get back, we're going to have, hopefully with us, Ashley Bell from the White House, reporting from Dallas, where he is with the president, and we'll get an update on what's going on there. I'm Stacy Washington, in for Tony Katz on Tony Katz Today.
Is the American dream, but today's economy is challenging.
So is he supposed to call in this break?
Many homeowners facing financial difficulty often feel lost.
He should be calling in a minute.
The airlines are filled with offers of fast and simple relief. However, many find these offers often lead to damaged credit, higher debt, and ultimately the loss of one's home. If it seems like there's no way out, know there is legitimate help available. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling is a nonprofit organization that has provided answers and concrete solutions to consumers in situations just like yours for more than 60 years. Our certified housing specialists will work with you to review your finances and create a custom plan that's right for your specific situation. NFCC member agencies provide free and affordable help and meet U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development standards. Call 866-687-6322 or visit mortgagehelpnow.org.
Hannah complained of a headache. It was a rhabdomyosarcoma. Within a few days, Hannah was in treatment because we were told that the tumor was very aggressive. And it very quickly became clear that St. Jude was the ultimate place to be. So we've essentially put our lives in South Africa on hold. Incredibly blessed to be here. St. Jude is an asset to the world. The research that is developed here is offered freely to the rest of the medical world.
We're coming back in 30 seconds.
The way that the place operates is just to give and to care. I think it's the kind of place that not only stands as a beacon for pediatric cancer, but I think it could teach the world a couple of lessons about how to treat people. And I think if those lessons could be learned, even in their most basic form, this world could be a better place.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Mike's up.
Welcome back to Tony Katz Today. I'm Stacy Washington, filling in. You can follow me on social media at Stacy on the Right, on Twitter and Instagram. And we have been, I want to say hi to Rob. Hey, Rob. He's listening on KFOR radio, and he says he's enjoying hearing me fill in. And Rob, you are awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in and for sending me a quick tweet. That's awesome. And I also want to point out that on top of when we're talking about the culture, the cancel culture and the culture wars, it's raging even in the cartoon area. We have this, it's a TV show called Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol, meaning, paws, because dogs have paws. And it's the cutest little cartoon ever. Now, I will admit that I was only vaguely aware of Paw Patrol. You know how it is as you move through the different phases of parenting. I used to know every cartoon. I've seen every episode of SpongeBob up until just recently. I don't know if those are new episodes that are coming out now or if they're just rebroadcast, but my kids watched SpongeBob and Legos, and my son was the king of Lego racers, the little ones you buy at the Target back when we used to shop at Target. I mean, everything was different back then. Before the culture encroached on everything that was fun, my kids used to watch Caillou and Word Girl.
Ashley's on hold.
And now the culture is basically making everything unfun. We'll circle back around to that. Right now, I want to introduce my friend Ashley Bell. He is such a mover and shaker in politics and in the realm of Washington, D.C. And he and I met a couple years back at a White House Black History Month reception, I think it was. And we have since then been cohorts and, brother and sister in arms at supporting President Trump and making sure that his message gets out there. Ashley, what office are you working in at the White House right now?
Oh, thanks for having me back on with you. And I appreciate you taking the time to get a chance to catch up with you. This opportunity, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm proud of you. This show is great. You're getting out a lot of good information to a lot of folks, and right now, I'm White House, which
Oh, we have a terrible
He went
connection.
as well.
We have a terrible connection. You're cutting in and out.
It's cutting in and out. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Can you move a little bit closer to the window, maybe? I know you're basically on the move.
It's totally fine. Is this any better?
Yes, that's better. Okay, so tell us again what office you're working out of.
It's the Office of American Innovation in
Yes,
the White House.
yes.
Led by Jared Kushner.
Okay.
And Brooke Rollins.
So that is one of my favorite offices in the White House. Some of my favorite people working in there, which includes you. And so you are now down in Dallas with the president. So tell us, first of all, what is President Trump doing down there? And what are you guys, what is the messaging and things that you're trying to accomplish today?
Well, what's important about this trip, Stacy, is that the president wanted to create an opportunity to have a roundtable to talk about the state of affairs in this country right now that doesn't, this president sees exactly what's going on around this country. He wants to make sure that everyone understands that this administration is going to continue to focus on solutions and continue to focus on the forgotten men and women in this country who for generations have had to deal with systemic issues around criminal justice reform, which he's addressed, underfunding for historically black colleges, which he's addressed, the trade issues that we've had in this country that have caused economic, hardships for so many, like NAFTA, he's addressed. And he knows that all of the issues that he's addressed have all had a disproportionate effect on minorities. And so we wanted to talk about, his record in being a convener and a solution maker, but also how do we continue that progress? And I think the president, about having small business owners, faith leaders, and law enforcement executives around the same table, he was able to put forth just a really candid convening so people could speak truth to power, but also say, what America needs right now are solutions. And we talked about how do we take the first step to making sure that table and that conversation is going to be the catalyst for those continued policy victories that the president's had.
So you talk about the policy victories, and I wish that you and Jaron and others in the White House would have the opportunity to go on the mainstream media outlets like CNN. And, I know you might have those opportunities, but you don't take them as often because you're not treated fairly. I totally get it. That's why I don't go on CNN anymore. But I wish that Americans, especially Black Americans, would be able to hear you, Ashley, and others in the White House talking about the truth that President Trump has actually made an outstanding effort and accomplished his goals, many of them for reforms and things that help Black Americans to have better access to the American dream. Why do you think that mainstream media refuses to allow you to come on? Is it because you're permanently tan like me, and when you speak, it's a shaking of the realities when we go on there and we tell the truth?
Well, it doesn't fit their narrative, and I think you can see the case in point last week. Every time, if you think of 4 years ago, there were polls that came out that said the president had 0 to 3% of the African American support. And so that narrative, made people believe that he wouldn't be a president if he got elected that would fight for African Americans and fight for underserved communities. But the president got elected with a larger percentage than Mitt Romney and John McCain, but he continued to focus on the forgotten Americans, which many times include people of color. So a lot of the things that we're talking about the president accomplished, he didn't promise that on the campaign trail. He just did it because it was the right thing to do. You never once heard the president promise what he was going to do for historically Black colleges, but he gave permanent funding to historically Black colleges. You never heard the president, when he was trying to become president, say that he was going to reform the criminal justice system, but he did. So I think it just goes to show that we're keeping the promises that we made, and we're keeping promises that we didn't make. We're continuing to just have the sort of leadership that leads and addresses the problems as they arise. And the key thing about Dallas today is to make sure that people understand this president inherited the same thing that these underserved communities inherited. They inherited a system where access to capital for minority businesses has been lacking. And now for the first time you have the vast majority of African-American businesses now have a relationship with a financial institution because the president created the PPP program. The PPP program has allowed many African-American businesses to get access to capital when they desperately need it. And now the conversation is, how do we grow that relationship? How do we make sure that they continue to get the resources they need to build better businesses that are smarter, more agile, innovative, so they can hire more people in these communities? This president sees the challenge of this COVID crisis, but he also sees the opportunity to create more pathways for opportunity for more Americans.
So the pathways for opportunity are the absolutely it's the thing that's happening under the radar. And you know what I mean by this, Ashley. A lot of times you can do all the media you can go on Fox News, you can get on the biggest megaphone you can talk about what's happening, but you can never really quantify fully the impact that something is having on a community until it has kind of run its course for a little bit. And we saw that with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The immediate reaction was the market responded, but over time we saw the GDP grow. So it took time. The GDP is something that measures, it's your past performance and a metric for that quarter. So you go into the next quarter with the metric from the last quarter. It's the same thing with the opportunity zones and a lot of the things that you've named. The impact of them is ongoing. The impact is also something that can't be really measured in the moment, but it's good. It's actually working.
Well, let me tell you, what we can measure right now is the fact that the president put together emergency efforts to put money in the hands of entrepreneurs when we were losing tens of millions of jobs in this country. You had the naysayers come out, last week and say, we're going to see another month. We're probably going to lose 9 million jobs in this country. Mm-hmm. And they were proven wrong because the president's payroll protection program is saving jobs. And for the first time since this virus started, we created over 2 million jobs. And on top of that, 260,000 of them were African-American jobs. 683,000 were Hispanic American jobs. So you're seeing huge numbers when people said you wouldn't have seen them. And this is because the programs are working. It's reaching the communities it needs to reach. And can we continue to do more? Absolutely. This president is putting a lot of direct pressure on everyone in the White House to say, look, we're now competing against our own best records. Like we created the best economy in the history of the world, the lowest unemployment for African Americans, women, Hispanics. But now that number is now our new target. We can build this economy back and we can beat it. So when you have a president that's created the best economy and now he sets his own bar to say, look, we got to get back there. We have to, we can build this economy the best in the world again. And we can do it because we know how to do it. We know that if you get out of the American entrepreneur's way, if you cut red regulations and you give people a chance to innovate, that is what's going to get our economy back. That's what separates us from every other country in this planet, is the fact that we have the American entrepreneur, because the government gets out of the way, helps when it can, but gets out of the way and lets people do what they do best. That's innovate and create the most efficient economy in the world.
So, Ashley, as we're closing out here, you guys, you're going to be with the president all day today. There's so much more for us to, we'll have to check online and do all of that. How can people follow you online to keep up with what you're doing in the White House Office of Innovation, which, again, my favorite people up in there. Y'all are just killing it. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, look, we have fantastic leadership. They can follow me at Ashley Bell R. Or at Ashley Bell 45 on Twitter, and you can keep up with all the great things we're doing in the Office of American Innovation. But I want to say we're so proud of you and the work that you're doing, and this is how we communicate to folks. This is why Rasmussen has that his president approval rating with African Americans is at 40% right now, because we're going right around the mainstream media and we're talking to people who have tons of listeners like yourself who are looking for credible information on what's happening with the COVID crisis and how the government is doing their job, and the president's doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Ashley. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week in Tulsa. So good to be with you today. Guys, we'll be right back with more Tony Katz Today after this.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
My grades were bad. I would get D's and C's.
I appeared to be doing good at my school life, but if you would see me at home, it would have been a completely different story.
I mean, it was just rough focusing on school when your mother is somebody you have to take care of. It got worse and worse and worse throughout the years.
There are students who need somebody.
They can trust someone, and it could be the first person they've ever trusted in their life.
Communities in Schools is lowering America's dropout rate by helping more than 1.3 million kids every year get whatever they need to succeed in school.
If something was going on at home, we would go just stop by Miss Liberty's office and talk to her.
Communities in Schools vouched for me when everyone else had lost hope.
You can help change the picture of education right here in your community and across the nation. Visit communitiesInschools.org.
I hear people say we can't save every kid, but I think that we can.
Hi, I'm Ariel Winter. If you're anything like me, your pets are not only your best friends, they're part of your family. American Humane, which has been rescuing animals like Cleo here for more than 100 years, has life-saving tips that can make a big difference before, during, and after disasters such as hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, or wildfires. So when disaster strikes, you want to be prepared to protect them. Be sure to microchip or tag your pets. Never leave them behind in a major crisis, and be sure to have an emergency kit ready in your home at all times with a pet crate or carrier, leash, blanket, ID, and medications, their water bowl, and 7 to 10 days worth of food. To find out how to protect your entire family during a disaster and help our best friends in their worst times, please visit AmericanHumane.org.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time,
We're back in 30 seconds.
it can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Welcome back.
Mike's up.
You are listening to Stacy Washington, the dulcet tones of Stacy on the right, and for Tony Katz. And Tony Katz is, well, he's like my brother from another mother in a way. Like, we've known each other for so long now. All my kids know who he is. Like, my husband knows who he is. It's just, you know how your work colleagues turn into your good friends, and then after a while, it's just like, it's just people that you know. So that's Tony, and he has been fantastic. And I'm so glad to have been with you today on the wonderful syndication arm that is Tony Katz today. Fantastic to have access to your ear holes today to talk about all of these different issues. So, you know, I've been looking online on social media as we've been talking, and you know what's funny to me is, you know, so it's been ever since Tucker Carlson joined Fox News, the cancel mob has been trying to get rid of him and his show. And I feel like over the years, he has just gotten stronger. He's just gotten even better. He was great to start off with, but now he's the tongue of fire coming out of Fox News every evening. It's the must watch programming of the day. His take on things, it's just so phenomenal. He has just done such a great job of analyzing and unpacking everything that the left is doing, and they hate him for it. They see him as their arch enemy because, first of all, he's not old, because liberals love to say that we're the party of old white men. And I defy you. Check me out on Twitter. I'm neither old nor white. And there's nothing wrong with being old and white. Some of my favorite people are old and white. The founders were old white guys. A lot of people that I know around here in St. Louis who are great business leaders and pillars in the community are old white guys. I had nothing against it. And here's the other thing about mocking old people. It's so funny to me when people mock people for getting old, because old people are people who have survived living on earth by their wits, by the goodness of God, by hook or by crook. They're alive still. They've lived and they've lived and they've lived. So if you don't think getting old is a thing, you're basically saying you hope you're going to die young. Who hopes that? Who wants to die before their time? Who wants to die before you get to see your kids grow up to be adults, and before you get to look into the eyes of their kids, before your kids get married? Who wants to die before the kids get married, before the grandkids come? Who wants to die before the great grandkids come? We have some neighbors on our street that they have their great grandkids have just been born. They have 2 new great grandkids. So their grandkids are having kids. It's just, and these are 2 energetic, good looking older people. They're living. They still go to the gym. They keep up their own yard. They have acreage. They're just fantastic. Who doesn't want that? So, be shallow. Talk about people's looks. Go in on, this person is old. So you don't like their ideas. So attack the ideas, but to mock people getting older really shows the lack of cognitive ability in the person doing the speaking, because it's clear that either you don't want to get old, so you hope to die young just so you can look good the whole time, or maybe you're just not that good at this thing. You're not good at living, and you don't think you have good prospects for making it through. It takes a lot of wisdom and strength, because, when you talk to old people, they'll tell you, I had cancer. They've been through it. They've been through it. What you need to be doing instead of mocking people for getting old is get up next to that old person and see if you can sit down and push your bottom lip up to your top lip. Shut up. Sit next to old people and shut up. Just nod or shake your head from side to side. Listen to what they have to say. The wisdom that's pouring off of them, the things you can learn from them, it's almost a waste to try to explain it to people who don't get it, because they'll never get it. You'll never get it. So, whatever, you're missing out. That's what I'm going to say to you. You're missing out. So what I started off with is there's this hashtag, and it's I Stand With Tucker Carlson. And when you go on there, it's people like Patricia Arquette with her old, like, who is she even? On here talking about it's a honeypot for catching people to block and unfollow. Really? Why would she be on there? Why would she be on there looking for people to unfollow? All they're doing by making Tucker Carlson trend is making people search him on YouTube, and then when they search him, they watch the video, the clip of his TV show, and they realize that something about this guy is different from the others. He's spitting a whole lot of truth right now, and he's backing it up with documentation, and maybe I need to rethink some of these ideas that I got from my liberal college professor or my art teacher in high school. You'd be surprised how many art teachers in these K through 12 public teaching institutions they're not just liberals, they're commies. They teach art. So your kid's sitting there and they got the little music going and they're painting pictures of Che Guevara and all other dictators and despots. And just look at your kids' art that they're bringing home from school. Ask them, well, when you were creating this, what did your teacher teach you? Like, what were y'all discussing? What was the point of this painting or little sculpture or what have you? Just ask them. Check out what your kids are bringing home. You might have a fantastic, God-fearing art teacher who is just, all about America and the truth. And God bless you if you do, because you are a fortunate individual. But most of our tax dollars are going to pay these leftists to pour nothing but nonsense into the heads of our kids. And it's disgusting. So I already went over this anthem stuff, which, again, is not cool. It's not against the law to burn the flag. It's an expression of free speech. But, be better than that. That is, just be better than that. And then I want to also, before we go here to the break, I want to address suburban women. I happen to be a suburban woman. And yes, I do still count, even though I'm permanently tan. I am a suburban woman, and I have been one for a very long time. It's been a long time since we've lived in the city. And even when I was in the city, my voting patterns qualified me as a suburban woman technically, but not so much anymore, because Facebook and other leftist organizations, including Democrats, are now targeting suburban women and trying to make them feel terrible for believing in things like family, home, children, America. It is perfectly fine for you to wear your Lululemons and your Athleta sweatpants, yoga pants, leggings, whatever it is that floats your boat, and still believe in America and still vote like you mean that. You've got to be cognizant of the fact that you are a target for the Democrats. And so if you are a leftist and you believe in abortion on demand, then by all means vote for the Democrats. But if you don't believe in that stuff, but you feel pressured to act as if you do, or to vote for the Democrats just because you don't want to be controlled by your husband, I got news for you. If you married him, then there should be nothing wrong with you and he discussing politics and agreeing. And if you agree, he's not controlling you. So don't let that kind of language infiltrate your mind and make you think that you have to do something based on what some stranger has told you. I would trust my husband's advice over any stranger. I don't care what PhD you've got. Why do I trust his advice? Because I've been married to him for almost 24 years, and I've known him for almost 25 years. So he's kind of an expert in that thing known as Stacy. He's also an expert in the other thing that matters most, because let's face it, we are all self-interested, and that's our family. So if my husband and I were disagreeing about politics, which we do not, but if we were, and he was saying, let's look at this, let's talk about it, in no way would he try to force me to vote in a certain way. But if we were discussing it and we were disagreeing, I wouldn't immediately, well, you're the patriarchy, or that's your husband. You would hope that your husband would have the same kind of willingness to listen to your ideas because you are his wife. Don't let Democrats come in between what is a beautiful and gorgeous thing, which is your marriage, to try to influence you to be antagonistic just for the sake of being antagonistic, just for the sake of being, I'm a strong woman. You know what else is strong? Odors. Don't take strong as always a euphemism for something good. Strong is not always a descriptor that is positive. Don't make your marriage the battleground for these people, right? These people are, they're not your friend, and they don't have your best interests at heart. How about that? Just leave it at that. All right, we're going to go to the break. When we get back, we'll have more Tony Katz today with Stacy on the right filling in. Keep it here.
Hey, honey, take your blood pressure medication.
Thanks, dear.
Daddy,
Yeah, Mikey.
are you going to the hospital again for a heart attack?
No, son. Bad medication from a fake online pharmacy sent me to the hospital. My pills didn't have enough of the right medicine for my blood pressure. We learned the hard way that it's important to buy medication only from sites that have either been approved by NABP or that end in .pharmacy, so we know they're safe. Okay?
Okay, Daddy.
Many rogue online pharmacies sell medications with too much, too little, or the wrong medicine, and counterfeiters may even use harmful fillers to make cheap pills. The National Association of Boards of Pharmacy urges everyone to make sure their online pharmacy is legitimate and to watch in coming months for more websites with a .pharmacy URL. These have been vetted as safe and legal. Learn more at safe.pharmacy, a public service from the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy.
I'm a firefighter.
A teacher.
I'm a farmer. I'm a barber.
A waitress. A mom. We're all part of your community. Every day we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life. It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty. Something or someone's behavior that doesn't seem quite right.
These are the moments to take a pause.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
It's not about paranoia
or being afraid.
It's about standing up and protecting our communities.
One detail at a time.
Because a lot of little details can become a pattern.
We
trust our instincts.
Just like you should.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, I'm Sherry Shepherd. You probably know me best as a co-host on The View. More importantly, I'm a mom. I talk to a lot of moms, and I'll tell you what, we all want the best for our babies. But each year, more than 500,000 babies are born prematurely, and this can lead to serious health problems. The good news is that now if you're pregnant or a new mom, you can get easy access to information to keep your baby healthy. It's through a free service called Text for Baby.
So we're going to have a hard out time of 5550.
Sent directly to their cell phones. The tips will
Got
help
it.
you care for your new child in each important phase of early development. Get Text for Baby. Free messages on your cell phone to help you through your pregnancy and your baby's first year. Just text BABY, B-A-B-Y, to 511-411. That's BABY, B-A-B-Y, to 511-411 for the health of your baby.
Mic's up.
Welcome. That moment when you start talking, but you still have your cough button depressed. So I'm Stacy Washington. I'm filling in for Tony Katz, and this is our last segment for today. And so when he reaches out to me and I get to swing through here and kind of sit with y'all, fly his jet engine for a couple of days and then kind of dip back out, it's always a pleasure. And I just would encourage you to take a peek at my social media. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have a fantastic announcement about my podcast, and I'm so excited about it. And I've been on hiatus. So if you've been to listen.stacyontheright.com, you notice that the episodes there's like a break from a couple of months ago. And that is because I realized that with my kids being here, even though they're young adults, the two older ones, and they don't really need me for much, it was an opportunity to kind of plug back into them, an opportunity that I probably won't get again because they are moving on through the college years. Our daughter is a rising junior, our son is a rising sophomore at college, and the youngest one will be going off to college next year. So she's a senior in the fall. So it is like the time is moving at warp speed. So I decided to unplug. I got deep into some gardening and some home improvements and studying my Bible. And reconnecting and making new connections with people of like minds for things that we're doing here locally. And I just encourage you to do that. And of course, I've been working on the Black Voices for Trump and Veterans for Trump this whole time, and that has not ceased. But it's been, mainly things you can do from home because we were all quarantined. And now as the country is opening back up, this opportunity that we'll be announcing in a couple of weeks with my work, it's a perfect time for all of it to come together. And I really feel blessed to have been able to kind of pull back for a little bit and recharge. Also worked out, I think I'm on day 62 of working out an hour a day, 7 days a week. I only lost 14 pounds. So I thought I've lost like 30 pounds, but I've lost 14 pounds. But the bigger deal is that I have much more stamina. I have much more energy. I'm sleeping better. And you're doing good when one of the kids says unprompted, "Oh, you're looking fresh." I was like, "What? Me? I'm looking fresh to you? You think I look fresh, you young person?" So that has been just a added benefit. I saw a meme back when the quarantine first started. We were like a weekend, And everybody was really like, that was back when I was tracking the COVID-19 numbers every day. I had 3 websites, and every day when I woke up, I would go to those websites and track and see how many more Americans had COVID-19. And I saw a meme on Instagram where she was like, if you're not starting your new hustle or finishing your book or, just basically remaking your life during the quarantine, then what are you even doing with yourself? And I thought, you know what? And so I hired an accountability partner and started eating mostly fruits and vegetables, and still a little bit of meat, but because I'm not crazy, but, definitely cutting back on everything except upping the fruits and vegetables. And it has really been helpful. I feel better. I feel more energetic. And so I just encourage you, first of all, in these last couple minutes that I have you, I want to basically pour into you a little bit of not positive energy so much as just the truth. The fact is, everywhere you look, everyone is saying, oh no, murder hornets. Oh no, COVID-19 is still here. You can't go out. You can't hug a friend. You can't go to church. You can't go to your synagogue. You cannot get together with people. People are being negative, and they're pouring out of where they're coming from. They're coming from a place of negativity. But the fact is, you're still an American, and whatever you're facing, you can handle it. And once you're done handling that, something else will come and you'll handle that too. Just like we've handled COVID-19, just like we're going to handle these riots and these godless maniacs who are trying to rip our country apart. We're not going to let them do it. We're going to prevail because that's what we do. Not because we're so fantastic or perfect, because that's just what we do. Okay. So that's the same attitude you have to have in your life. And it gets frustrating and discouraging. And I was actually so angry earlier this week. I called a couple of people an idiot on Twitter. I felt bad about it immediately afterwards because that's not usually how I roll. But we all go there. We all get there. We all get frustrated. It happens. We just have to keep the thing that is the most important in front of us, which is that you're going to make it. Tomorrow morning, it will be another day. And whatever happened today will be in the past, just like yesterday's in the past. And you can choose to go over it a million times, or you can just move on. But you can get through it. You can overcome it. You can do it. If we have that attitude, this time next year, President Trump will still be the president. That's my thing. I want President Trump reelected. I do. But regardless of what happens, we're still going to be doing the things that we've been doing, hopefully better, hopefully at a different level, but we'll still be operating. And so the question is, you're going to be operating with your face all wrinkled up, because frowning creates wrinkles. It also lowers your endorphins. It makes you feel terrible. Or will you just kind of turn your face up a little bit? You don't have to be cheesing it out, but smiling and moving forward. That's all you can do. And so I was looking on here. I told you that I Stand with Tucker Carlson was trending because Disney and T-Mobile have decided to no longer have a relationship with him, which is their problem. Okay? Their problem. So they have a problem with making money. Other businesses will come in and advertise on Tucker Carlson. I know if I had a big business and I had the kind of advertising dollars that would put me in the realm of advertising on Fox News, Tucker Carlson's show would be where I went, because the people who watch his program have disposable income and purchase products, period. So if you have T-Mobile, you might want to rethink that. You might want to go to Patriot Mobile, period. If you are using, like, we have a Disney Plus subscription, maybe we need to cancel it. I'll talk to my husband about it tonight. I mean, we've already watched all the episodes of The Mandalorian. So, we've seen everything else they've made. So why are we paying them $6 a month? Maybe we should repay them with unsubscribing from their service. That's how this works. So, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Perfect example, all the cities that are currently experiencing rioting because they have refused to put down the lawlessness. And that's all we can do. So I did mention that I was going to touch on, I'm going here to my little list of things that we were discussing today, that we were touching on Disney. Here it is. Disney criticized for pulling advertising from Tucker Carlson tonight over their Black Lives Matter discussion. So this is from the National Center for Public Policy Research. And they have issued a press release saying, that the Free Enterprise Project has frequently challenged Disney's policies at their shareholder meetings. And Disney has pulled its advertising in response to Carlson saying that Americans are not required to be upset by the death of George Floyd, and that the ongoing demonstrations in many cities are Black Lives Matter riots, and that these activities are not usefully about Black lives. What about that is untrue, first of all? Well, none of it. I mean, I was upset by George Floyd's death, but I wasn't required to be. If you're not upset by it, that's your own prerogative. Just live and let live, people. Anyway, I'm canceling my Disney Plus. I'm telling my husband as soon as I get off the show. All right. You have a fantastic weekend. Tweet Tony Katz that you loved me filling in and that you can't wait for him to get back because it's his show. Have a fantastic day. Stacy Washington, StacyOnTheRight.com.
When my landlord said rent could be cheaper if we were friends with